Welcome to Hockey Wiz Talks podcast. Today I'll be talking about why the 2022 NHL Draft is better than the 2020 Draft. Even though the 2020 Draft has been hyped up for years, there is a chance that the 2022 Draft could actually be better. The 2022 Draft is headlined by the three-headed monster at the top of the draft in Shane Wright, Matthew Savoie, and Brad Lambert, all who have superstar potential. Outside of those three players, there are other terrific players like Ivan Miroshnichenko, Rutger McGroarty, Maddox Fleming, Seamus Casey, Tristan Luneau, Simon Nemec, Juraj Slafkovsky, and Frank Nazar. Shane Wright is the prospect that has gotten the most buzz, and rightfully so, because he was destroying records as a 15-year-old in the OHL. He finished this season with 39 goals and 66 points in 58 games with Kingston. Wright had the highest point total in the OHL as a 15-year-old, behind only John Tavares and Jason Spezza. Shane Wright could very well be the NHL's next superstar, because not only was he destroying records, but he was also wearing an A as a 15-year-old, which shows tremendous leadership. Matthew Savoie is a budding superstar that plays for the Winnipeg Ice in the WHL. Although he hasn't had the same success as Shane Wright, he is noticeable every time he plays the game. Savoie is a dynamic playmaking center with game-breaking speed, terrific vision, and great passing skills. He has the potential to be a superstar player in the NHL as well. The least talked about superstar prospect in this draft is Brad Lambert, who tore up the Finnish U20 league as a 16-year-old. Brad Lambert is a dynamic offensive player with great speed, very good offensive instincts, and a terrific shot. Lambert put up 18 goals and 38 points in 42 games playing with HIFK in Finland, which is very impressive considering he played against men as a 16-year-old. Ivan Miroshnichenko is not billed as a superstar player, but he does have the potential to be a star player in the NHL. Playing in the shadows of Matvei Michkov, Miroshnichenko gets overlooked because he isn't putting up those eye-popping stats. However, Miroshnichenko is a complete player that does everything well, can play in all situations, and has a quick and accurate shot. He reminds me of Sergei Fedorov, a terrific two-way player with tremendous offensive instincts. And now a word from our sponsor. Check out my hockey blog at hockeywiztalkshockey.blogspot.com. Also visit my Facebook page, Mr. HockeyWiz777, and my Instagram, Mr. HockeyWiz77. Rutger McGroarty, Maddox Fleming, Juraj Slafkovsky, and Frank Nazar are the other top forward prospects in the 2022 draft. While these players are not billed as superstars, they certainly do have the potential to be high-impact players and stars in the league. Rutger McGroarty is hyped as the best of the bunch, and rightly so. He scored 160 points in 63 games playing midget hockey for the Oakland Junior Raiders U15 team. He will likely be the fifth player off the board unless a team is in desperate need of a defenseman. Maddox Fleming is another game-breaking player. Maddox Fleming is another player with game-breaking ability, with speed to burn, great hockey sense, and dynamic offensive abilities. He has the tools to be an impact player in the NHL. Frank Nazar is a point-scoring machine who put up 49 goals and 127 points in 55 games, playing midget hockey for Honey Baked U15 club. Nazar is a difference maker every time he is on the ice and seems to play better in bigger games. Juraj Slafkovsky is the player who isn't getting talked about much because he is Slovak, but he is still a player to keep an eye on because he recorded 22 goals and 52 points in 39 games playing for TPS U18 team in the SM Sarja League in Finland. Slafkovsky already has a massive frame at 6'4", 192. If he bulks up, he will be a terrific player in the NHL. Seamus Casey, Tristan Luneau, and Simon Nemec are the top defensemen in the 2022 draft. They all have the potential to be top pair defensemen in the league. Seamus Casey is the top-ranked defensive prospect in the draft and has everything you want in a defenseman in the modern NHL. He is a terrific skater and is basically a fourth forward on the ice. He is constantly jumping into the play and making life miserable for a defenseman. I would not be shocked to see Casey get taken in the top 5 if a team is really in need of a stud offensive defenseman. Tristan Luneau is another top defensive prospect in the draft. He was taken first overall in the 2020 QMJHL draft. Luneau is a sound two-way defenseman who models his game after Drew Doughty. He had 30 points in 37 games this season playing for Troy Revere Estacades, and he was also the captain of the team. Simon Nemec is the defenseman who is not talked about as much because he is very much a high caliber defenseman as well. As a 14-15-year-old defenseman, Nemec put up 35 points in 52 games in the Slovak U18 league. Even though it's just the Slovak league, this is still a tremendous accomplishment. It should also be noted that Nemec was the second youngest player to play in the Ivan Hlinka tournament. Not only was he a player on the team, he played a key role on the team as well, including playing on the power play and penalty kill. And now a word from my sponsor. Check out my other podcasts on soundcloud.com/MrHockeyWiz777. The 2022 draft has 3 potential superstar caliber players headlining the draft, and it's possible all 3 of these players will be perennial all-stars for years to come. How well the players perform from the 2020 draft is highly dependent on the teams they get drafted by, because outside of Alexis Lafreniere going number 1 overall, the rest of the draft is still very unclear. Where Marco Rossi and Cole Perfetti will land is still unknown, because while they have proved to be prolific point scorers, NHL teams have shown time and time again to pass up on very talented players because of their height. Players like Lucas Raymond and Alexander Holtz have been sliding on draft boards. They were once hyped up to be top 5 picks in the draft, but now some drafts have them sliding to below the top 8. Yaroslav Askarov is the wild card in the draft, and is the other true superstar talent in the draft. Askarov can turn any team he goes to into a threat right away. He's that good. Unfortunately, he's unlikely to be a top pick in the draft because he is a goalie, and goalies tend to fall in the draft nowadays. The reason why the 2022 draft is better than the 2020 draft isn't actually because of the 3-headed monster at the top of the draft, but rather it's because of the other star talent in the draft that will surely be making some buzz between now and the 2022 draft. Players like Ivan Miroshnichenko, Rucker McGrody, Maddox Fleming, Frank Nazar, and Yaroslav Slavkovsky can all be all-star players in the league. Beyond Lafreniere, Byfield, and Stutzel, there is much uncertainty surrounding the NHL potential of 2020 draft prospects. Players like Marco Rossi, Cole Perfetti, Lucas Raymond, and Alexander Holtz might still be really good players in the league. However, they might not be the star players that they were hyped to be. The defensemen that highlight the 2022 draft are head and shoulders above the defensemen in the 2020 draft. Seamus Casey, Simon Nemec, and Tristan Luneau can all be top-pair defensemen in the NHL, whereas only 2 defensemen in the 2020 draft, Jamie Drysdale and Jake Sanderson, might be a top-pair defenseman in the NHL. I may go as far to say that the 2022 draft class might be as good as the 2015 draft class, which was the best draft class in the 2010s. In my next podcast, I'll be talking about why teams should not be drafting defense in the 2020 draft.